Soviets and Soviets of the Red Army, how y'all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
And I'm Ringru, hello.
And folks, today on Sianno, we have a bit of a Napoleonic fight shaping up here. Rang, who do we have, and with what?
On left-hand side in blue, we have solowingpixy playing a 2nd French armoured with a flatline income, and right-hand side with Karma playing 184th Infantry with flatline. And by God, at IL2, he's on a mission to shoot down a off-map recon plane, like, immediately.
Well, I feel kind of bad about this, too, because that off-map recon plane, I feel like got called in after the game actually started, so that just seems like an unfortunate decision there.
Yeah, it was not a good call. I believe you only get like one of them per card on A phase, so that's a pretty big loss rise, point rise, and also immediate off-map.
Also worth mentioning, Karma bringing out the hero sniper unit over here, so that obviously, of course, means she's going to die in about 2 minutes. But it's always really cool to see the different hero units actually getting called on in.
Mm-hmm.
Also confess,
there's not really enough infantry runs. It's always like tank people and airplane people.
well, as you can tell right now, the main, of course, axis of action is going to be up here to the north. Of course, maybe that might change once we see at long last the M5 Stuarts and the Valentines get to the front. But for the moment, it does look far more likely. Yeah, that's going to be a major axis of advance here. And these M8s are just getting shredded.
Yeah, we're just seeing solowingpixy go for very heavy early armored opener with all those lovely Shermans, and they make Greyhounds, and the mechanized French infantry with the half-tracks, which definitely do help out with the firepower. And yeah, just the French infantry are honestly pretty good in SD2 because they all have semi-automatic rifles, and all other infantry guns don't matter if it's not a semi-automatic rifle.
Well, I'll tell you what else doesn't matter. Apparently French armor doesn't really matter because we've seen more than a couple of these vehicles getting thrown into this town and all of them going down. The Sherman just drove right past things. We had it's pretty bloody so far.
Yeah, but it's a good thing for Karma. He is playing 184th because you get a lot of Strelkovy DPs. And having all those AT rifles will be his best way of keeping those Greyhounds and half-tracks array.
Well, I know you said about the idea of semi-automatic rifles being the kind of king of the battlefield here, but I can't help but look at things like these Automachiki and these M8s to the north, and think that these Automachiki are as good, I would say, as some of these Voltigeurs as well.
Yeah,
yes.
They can actually get close range.
Yeah, and that was the proviso. Yeah.
But as you can see right now, one of the avatars is getting completely lit up by the amount of just French, American, just machine gun firepower. But it's really quite funny because 184th is one of the few divisions that has a really lovely M3 lead tank, a true masterpiece in American ingenuity. But against French armored, it's a really good tank. It can shoot those Greyhounds and half-tracks and other like Stuart tanks and shoot them a bunch because it has 2 guns and not just one.
Well, and the penetration values of both of them are pretty damn strong, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
Valentine to the south has got broken down transmission, so basically means that thing goes at 2 kilometers an hour as opposed to its lightning fast 5.
Mm-hmm. Real speed demon. And up north, the M4 Shermans managed to get a flank around on Karma's position, and they're just picking off the tanks one by one now. And that's a pretty huge, territorial gain. If he can hold that forest, you pretty much... It's very easy to hold that forest once you completely capture it.
It's a big if, though, and that's this gun. I mean, this has been an absolute slaughterhouse of French vehicles. There's been half-tracks galore. I mean, really, the only thing that's gone his way is that Karma's lost a couple of his own.
Yeah. He's very much going all out like he's playing a Vanguard or Maverick Income, but no, he's playing a nice and steady flatline, but he's still being able to just churn out the huge amount of French infantry and armed vehicles, which is really what you do with French army, definitely in the phase Rust division, especially going by SD44 standards.
Very, very true. Looking elsewhere on the map, we see that these Valentines trying to be a little bit more frisky, engaging a char down to the south, but of course the char with its inherent stabilizers is just going to destroy that. So. Yes, sir, please.
No, it's just been a very hectic first 5 minutes of this match so far. Solar Rings is doing a very good job keeping this momentum going up north, and Karma of a more slower, defensive infantry division. I feel like eventually he should be able to build up just enough like infantry spam and anti-tank guns to set up a defensive line, but really be able to actually take back a territory, because that can be a hard ask for 184th.
It's a hard ask, yes, but I think it's more just because of the idea that their tanks, when they do get them, are still relatively under-armored.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their anti-tank guns, there's nothing wrong with those. They've been a workhorse, and a workhouse, I imagine, too. But they've been a workhorse the entirety of this match thus far.
Yeah. The 184th against French overall, tanks are actually not bad. The Valentines are really good gun platforms, the Lees I mentioned before, and for more heavy armored stuff, which isn't really much in the French armored, you got the ISU. But I think the Valentines might be the real king of the battle here, in terms of for Karma, because just place them somewhere and that 6-pounder will beat out any 75mm most of the time.
True. It is actually also rather lucky, though, for solowingpixy to catch off some of these incoming Soviet troops. The Automachiki themselves actually taking a Zook, one of them taking a Zook to the face, not even getting out of his truck. But outside of that, though, look at all the machine gun fire coming to the north. The Svoltigairs are not going to be jumping anywhere.
Nope. It's got all the Strelkovy DPs set up. And in terms of the infantry matchup, for Karma, definitely more of a long range. I mean, Strelkovy DPs for the 2 DPs, that's pretty much it. But the French are definitely more orientated towards getting closer range. They do have a pretty good machine gun squad of their own, with the Trin Brown machine gun squad, but apart from that, it's really just carbines and semi-auto rifles.
Seems to truly be the case. I guess we'll have to see when at the 184th can be a bit of a chameleon, a karma chameleon, if you will, into some of these kind of northern positions. I know, folks, by the way, we haven't really looked at the south, but all the action has been to the north. But if you do look down to the south, you will notice that there is the occasional plume of smoke, and I believe most of that is French.
I believe so.
And with the Bofors being sent to the north, the IL-2 is out to play in the south.
Yeah, those IL-2s early on can be a real pain in the ass to deal with their recon optics, just being able to spot stuff and then strafe it if it's pretty decent firepower. It's definitely a nice benefit that 184th has, especially as we saw right at the start of the match, we blew up the off-map recon plane before it really even got on the map.
Well, and that's the thing, too. I feel like if that recon plane had not been so aggressively deployed, this northern forest would not look like it's about a dam ready to burst.
Yeah, it's definitely a ballsy maneuver. I understand why he did it, because usually, most of the time, people don't bring out airplanes immediately, but against 184th with the IL-2s, it's definitely something you want to keep in the back of your mind, because any division that has those recon IL-2s, they're gonna bring them out.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's the new B-26 Marauder, and it's been that way for quite a bit of time.
Yeah, it kind of has been, yeah.
And this 57mm not even getting a chance to speak his mind. He goes down even before the first round gets off the other direction. Yeah, not for nothing. I think solowingpixy is very much up against the wall here.
Yeah, as you've seen up north, Karma has managed to, push back slowly but surely into the forest, and he's starting to get Soviet infantry spam out. He's got the Valentine tanks and other light armored vehicles into position. And on the defensive, those Valentine tanks are just killer.
Not for nothing, but I'm kind of surprised the French didn't try to play for a more open territory, open field kind of idea. Maybe pushing here through the center, maybe try to rupture the line, and maybe so that we can roll up either flank at your leisure. But
yeah,
not sure
that's a pretty good point. He definitely got choked up in that northern choke point trying to push on through, where really you don't want to be in a super open field with French armored for the most part, because they're not that great in open ground engagements, but you definitely want to try to sneak your way down south or in another area of opportunity, because they do have that mobility with 2nd French.
Shockingly enough, we actually do see the ISU 122 to the south. I didn't expect to see that.
Yeah, especially in A phase run. You only get one per card in A phase, usually right till B and C phase to bring them out. And it doesn't matter, because it just got slacked by that 57mm.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know people have been complaining on the forums recently about the idea of the auto-turning to face a source of fire. So I don't know if that was maybe a consequence of that just now or what, but we can say
it's also like the 6-pounder is a really good anti-tank gun in this game, just due to its rapid fire rate and like I don't want to say long range, but all the guns have the same range, so it doesn't not really a fair assumption.
No, true. I guess part of me just kind of saw that the front armor is still at 115. I know it matches, I know it meets, but, you know, the thought did occur, at least nothing else. And I was seeing one brave Greyhound over here, but I think he might get sent to the puppy mill pretty quickly, unfortunately. That was rather dark of me, actually, so I... Oops.
Oh, that was poor puppies.
But that's about how he's over here. I mean, again, M8s, I think the M8 is such a versatile vehicle to kind of use in Phase A, but it has to have this recon optics, and I think the early ones didn't have those.
Yeah, because you get the, in Second French Armored, you get the recon runs, and then you also get the regular tank runs. And you do get, the reason you take the regular tank runs is you have a bit of extra availability with them and the tank slots. But yeah, the recon definitely does help out, because we always do want to have some sort of recon optics, and I believe, 57mm just killed the M3 Lee, but yeah, the M8 is going to go down in a blaze of glory, probably.
I'm not sure I'd call it glory, but, you know, that's fair enough.
In a blaze.
That is true. That is true. Probably the best thing somebody named Lee ever did for the country. Now, Valentine did go down, so we have this hero Sherman, Ginocchio, hanging out on this southern side of this lake. And other than that, actually, wow, we have this 76 up gun and a couple other Shermans coming to the front, and this might be enough to arrest the momentum here.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, it's a good armored force for sure, and he's got the Nereve backing him up as well, and some more Nereve being brought in. So, yeah, the Valentine's going down, that's really the heavy-hitting armored units.
Actually, the thought occurs to me, doesn't the French Air Force have a decent presence for the second Blindee? I always kind of feel like they should. I can never recall, unfortunately.
Yeah, you got the classic smoke bomber, everyone's favourite non-lethal takedown method of pushing. But yeah, you also got like the P-38s and the regular DB-7 bombers with decent payloads.
I guess I'm a little bit surprised that they don't have that coming in to at least keep that IL-2 at arm's length.
Oh yeah, because you have access to Spitfires as well and other decent anti-air. But he just has the one Bofors down south, and I believe he had one up north.
He did. Right about where that Russian infantry is now.
Ah.
But to a certain extent, you can see what this cheeky Sherman is in the middle, and that would have been enough for me. Stick a Sherman or two either on the edges of the forest, you control and lock down that entire Soviet ridgeline to the east.
Yeah, we are just seeing a resurgent push. It's really just going back and forth up north. Karma's setting up a, pretty quick defensive line of just quick 45mm anti-tank guns, but I feel like he's a little bit outgunned, and with no infantry currently in that northern position, I feel like it's going to collapse up north very quickly.
If and only if cheeky deployments of anti-tank guns don't cause too much of an issue. Like right now with the 76mm Zis 3, and frankly, there we go.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's two more. I didn't take those into account.
Well, and that's the thing, is that frankly, if those anti-tank guns are able to arrest momentum, and that's the issue, isn't it?
You want a straight-up fight against the Sherman does have... Oh no, the other one's again, like, crossfire. Yeah, if he can just kill these two Shermans, that should slow down his push for a wee bit.
Well, that's part of the way. The question is, though, one, can the Nueves see it? And it seems like they can, so this could take care of part of the problem.
Nope, and we're also seeing some infantry reinforcements, some more anti-tank guns being brought up, and also I have a feeling Karma will just be able to, hold on to his northern flag just in the nick of time for reinforcements to come in.
Well, there are these two Valentines here as well, but it doesn't seem to be Valentine's Day. One goes down already.
More like a Valentine's... Oh, never mind. It's a Valentine's Day massacre.
That does certainly seem to be the case, but thankfully the Kingpin of Crime isn't here to enjoy it. Down to the south, we are seeing a couple of Tanko Desantnikis holding this rather oddly shaped protrusion in the French lines, and there's actually this 45 mil, a couple 45 mils with really decent line of sight overall, and there is one of those guys right now, the P-38.
With chunking big payload of two 450 kilogram bombs, so yeah, 45 he's gonna die. Yep.
Yeah.
And, oh, he's going for the dogfight as well.
Not the smartest of decisions. I know the IL-2s are fairly light. Oh wait, no, never mind. They're 20 mils, 23 mils are out.
Oh yeah, one of them's almost out of ammo.
And,
so...
and not a single burst of fire didn't even happen. Just jams, weapons get jammed. Jeez.
Those IL-2s are deceptively very good in aerial combat for some reason. It's just they're so slow they're hard to hit.
Well, I'm wondering if there's some gremlins from the Kremlin to kind of just sabotage the French vehicle there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, down south, Solo Ring gonna be trying to capture last sort of tip of the town here. Some good old sapper movement, but Tank does need to keep holding him pretty strong. Getting those Molotovs out.
Well, the mistake here is that you cannot engage the Tank of the Sianno from close-in fighting. Again, guys, we talked about it. Under 100 meters is very few squads that are any better than that.
Yeah, and they definitely wanted to share your drink with you.
Exactly.
A spicy kick.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, I feel like actually, sorry, Valentine tank goes down to the south, and with the death of that 145 mil, now we have a sapper behind enemy lines. And even if the Sherman to the northwest goes down, I think they're going to make a mistake here, and I think the sapper is going to be in perfect position to take out this Stuart when he comes around the tree line.
Yeah, that'd be a really perfect hit, yeah, of the bazooka. But I do like his southern play being, like, this is happening right now. I usually don't see this. I really don't see enough of people trying to fight over the town and its area of the map. People usually get very focused up north. But usually, I mean, it's intimidating because there's a huge bloody ridgeline. It's a great defensive position. But, you know, good use of your own fire support and smoke and, you know, just some quick maneuvering, you can get to the other side of the ridge.
Certainly seems to be the case. Though we are looking actually right now. So the Tanko de Sianno have no more Molotovs. So the close-in fighting, while still being devastating for the French, I'm sure, may not be quite as terrifying. Meanwhile, up to the north, oh my god, there's one squad in Nuevas who's just getting shellacked by, I think, 6 or 7 light machine guns, rifle fired, tank shells. I mean, it's rough.
It should be called a Nueve because they're getting shot at by 9 machine guns.
Well, with fire like that, they won't be Nueve too very long.
Yeah, this has been very fluid back and forth. Like we just saw, you know, a few minutes ago, pretty strong push going from solowingpixy here. But now Karma managed to set up that, you know, strong Soviet defensive line, and now he's going to be deciding to take the offensive once again with, you know, his Avtomachikis and Strelkovy and light armor.
You know, I keep waiting for this sapper to actually try to find the Stuart. If he can sell his life for the Stuart, that'd be worthwhile. He's slowly doing something. It ain't going to be going for that Stuart, though.
No, and I think so. Stroke DP trying to pay him a visit.
Well, you know, as they say, c'est la guerre. So. And outside of the other one, ISU 122, I'd be very surprised, actually, if Karma took more than 2 cards, then. Because, like you said, it's not very efficient from one card to the next. And while it can be devastating, again, like you said, there's a second Blindee, why should you bother?
Yeah, I'm really conflicted on the ISU 122 and, like, personal use. Because it has a big chonking gun. And on paper it has good armor, but I always find that it just gets killed in stupid rays.
I think
it just get killed by like medium tank fire because it just dies.
Well, having to be bow on constantly is a bit of a hassle. That whole you know, assault gun variant behind it. If assault guns, heck, if any kind of assault vehicle was more durable in a city fight, that'd be one thing. But they just aren't.
Yeah,
so
I also think it's because with 184, if you don't get a lot of tanks to begin with, So it's not exactly a target-rich environment for the enemy. So when your only armored vehicle is a single heavy tank, like all the anti-tank firepower is just going to be concentrated on said tank instead of being more spread out between, more regular divisions, especially Soviet, which just have T-34 span, which draws a lot of fire.
That is certainly fair. I feel like we're getting prepared for another French push to the north. Town is slowly falling under solowingpixy's control, but it ain't coming cheap. And down south, actually, there was a Soviet anti-aircraft to match off with the French one. But,
yeah, the 37 mil.
Yes, but it wasn't enough to keep the IL-2 alive. So,
nope.
And on the shores of the lake to the north, this Nueve is going to learn how to swim.
And he's dead.
Oh, he's very much dead.
He's super dead.
But don't worry, he shall be avenged by Grapthar's hammer.
Oh, the off map?
No, P-38.
Oh yeah, it's half a faction. Yeah. And god damn it, P-38, you had one job. You had to avenge him, but guess not today.
You forgot to do the Mokhtar chant of strength. Man, I missed that movie. Not to carbon tape myself too much, but man, that movie came out when I was a wee nipper. Teenage years, man. Oh, such good stuff. Alan Rickman, we miss you. But 20 minutes in, I mean, it's 13:11. Even though the tickets are very, very different, shockingly enough, I almost am surprised by how far apart these two sides are in terms of just raw tickets. It has just been so back and forth, just not at the most appropriate spaces, I suppose.
Yeah, at the time, Solar Ring had a 15-9 advantage over Karma during one of the initial northern pushes, but with second French armored, I mean, both of them have the same income, but second French usually does not have the availability card-wise to keep up in a longer style game like this. Well, 184th can go on for an hour and a half, and they still have infantry ready to go. And just looking at the map, numbers-wise, it's looking pretty red compared to blue.
Yep. It does certainly seem that way. Now, there is this DB-73 who's just looking for a line in to start pounding some of the Soviet infantry. And frankly, he needs to do something soon. There we go. Bombs are coming out. And this actually might be enough to arrest the Crimson Tide for the moment. Or not, but, baby steps.
He tried.
Yeah.
But he failed.
Oh, heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And ISU one continues to take a couple of targets here, a couple of targets there. Now, off-map being called into the north as well, 280 mil. Definitely going to allow the Soviets to break out of this town. And I think, yep, they're bringing up Automachiki, so they're just waiting for the Automachiki, for the barrage to start so the Automachikis can storm on in.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't really have, it only has 2 infantry squads, yeah. Which I guess is enough in that situation.
You mean the French or the Soviets? Well, I'm not really sure whether or not Ryan kind of agrees with me on that one, but we'll see what we got.
I think you cut out, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case then, folks, I haven't been about the French or the Soviets having just a couple of squads of infantry. I thought you were talking about the French, but the Soviets, 3 squads? Not the worst idea.
No, that's a good point.
And I guess you don't want to invest too much into that in the first place, just in the off chance it goes very poorly. But the barrage is falling, and there is no go order being given. Interesting.
No Tora.
No, it seems to be much more Battle of the Crater, more than anything else.
Yeah, if he can actually capture the rest of that town, that's pretty huge, because it's pretty easy to hold on to the outskirts of the town once you fully capture it. He's got good forest placement for anti-tank guns, and I don't think he would get much further outside the town, because it's a big open field and really only has infantry span. It'd take him forever to get anywhere.
Also, not for nothing, but we have French air sats trooping down to the south with the volunteers. These guys aren't going to do diddly squat because they're engaging most of the Soviet infantry outside their most effective range here.
Yeah.
So I applaud the usage of a more lesser French squad, but just I'm not really fond of this.
Yeah, the volunteers are very much a CQC squad.
Yes.
Like they're very good in CQC because by God, it's just a lot of like automatic firepower coming in pretty hard. But their one like French machine gun is pretty pants, and he's just getting sniped and slowly beaten down. Now he is slowing down the push, to be fair, but it probably would have been better to hold back the volunteers a bit and then wait for the infantry and armor to get in, crest over the hill and shoot them point blank.
Well, and it doesn't help that there's, what, 250 rounds, I think, on a squad? Something like that?
Yeah,
300.
You don't get a lot.
So once you reveal your position, you are pretty boned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely needs some tanks or anti-tank down south to try and just, deal with that Stuart. That lone menacing Stuart. We got off-map up north from Solo Ring himself and off-map Sherman to try and, keep hold of that last little bit of a town which he kind of has control of, but not technically.
I was going to say that's very generous that you think he's controlling that town.
Mm-hmm. Technically, in a way, but technically not. Depends how you look at it from the map.
Well, I can tell you how I was looking right now. Karma looks like it's coming to rack around to smack solowingpixy in the face.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of Shermans down to the south, but not a whole lot really. Yeah, that was a slow burn there.
That clicked. It's like,
but down to the south, yeah, we're just seeing a slow buildup of Soviet material, and this is unfortunately where so much of the second Blindee kind of falls off. And we've seen this actually in the original SD-44, and I think we see it again in SD-2.
Yeah, they've done a pretty good job of keeping Blindee's theme the same from both games of being the A-phase rush division. Even though it's receiving flatline income, you can do it, but you just don't have the cards later on. All the infantry, like volunteers aren't actually, they're pretty good, but they're not as good as your sappers or your Norives. Well, sappers, which you get with tough anti-tank options. Because what's going to happen down south here is these Stuarts are going to move up, and the volunteers can only really, insult them.
Yeah, yell sacre bleu, and then turn blue in the face. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But and that's unfortunate, because I feel like had he just kept his guys off the crest of the hill, that would have been fine. Stick them back 100 meters. At that point, your squads are much better in CQC. Even against the Strelkies, you can be competitive.
Yeah. They're pretty good once again in CQC. He is finally getting some Shermans out here to try and contend with these, few Stuarts which are on the battlefield, so they should start picking things off. Especially if they're two-star veteranry. It's a pretty scary Sherman.
I'll tell you what's also scary, though, that 45 mil.
Mm-hmm. He maybe should get the other Sherman on the ridgeline, helping his buddy out, because he's taking all the fire.
I think maybe he owes him money or something, so...
Yeah.
But artillery shells are falling deep and fierce to the north, and it looks like the off-map Sherman is giving his life for the cause. I think as a 76 is just trying to engage the ISU-122.
Yeah.
So I think that third barrage has been utilized here. Yeah, we're hoping there's going to be another chance for a barrage. But despite the insane bravery and more or less samurai-like charge,
Yeah.
We might see a dead upgun no matter what.
Yeah, the ISU's in a pretty good position, just, straight down the road. But 76 is getting more shots off because it's higher rate of fire. I was hoping it was going to be anti-tank infantry, but volunteers, once again, can only shout insults and... never mind. ISU doesn't care about suppression, he just kills.
Well, and that's the thing, isn't it? Unfortunately, that P-38J was not given a chance to get his bombs off. Indeed, he even goes down as we speak. And just I really had thought that Karma was taking body shots consistently through his first couple of phases here, but he's pulled it back rather succinctly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not with these volunteers here. Yes, sir.
I'm quite surprised Solo has managed to actually do a counterpush. It really felt like he's just going to be stagnant for the rest of the match, but he doesn't. I mean, he does have to kind of hold on for a long time. 14 minutes is points might as well be like 14 minutes for the French. But if he can, you know, just push a little bit harder, you know, one final hurrah up north, trying to get another 2 flags or so, and try to get it to, you know, +2 tick, and maybe. But as we've seen, Karma has managed to retake a flag in the town, bring it back to a trove, and well, Karma has, he still has a numbers game.
Well, and just not for nothing, but instead of one last hurrah, now it looks like one more oorah over here from the Soviets as 4 squads storm forwards, and the IC-122 basically says, "Friends? I have no friends," and just starts running people over.
Gonna get bombed, Joe? The bombs kind of fell a little bit short, or long, depending on your point of view.
Well, all we can safely say is it didn't go where they needed to.
Nope. Controllers on top of people.
Well, we're seeing right now the absolute issue with this Voluntaris, as the BA-10 by itself gets to kind of go and just use all of its HE shells.
Mm-hmm.
Which just should not happen. And man,
Yeah,
that IL-2 is just so freaking durable.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of those volunteers, and he's actually doing a pretty good push here down south of him. Like you said, kind of like French Surge trooping a bit in a row, just the amount of numbers you can get. But the problem is that he doesn't have much fire support in this southern push. He has a single Sherman backing him up, and an actual.
Yeah, it certainly does seem to be that way. I guess the real test, though, is what happens when the Voluntaris do get close enough to use that stun gun. We see one of them in the forest right now. He gives with a Strelkovy DP. But I think all that tree cover... Oh no, actually he's doing rather well. I'm surprised.
Yeah. They're pretty, like, tough units to dig out. And then once they get close in, like, the M1 carbine is... I think it's a little bit better than a semi-automatic rifle in terms of fire rate or something along those lines. It's more it's a little bit more accurate, so it's a pretty nice little rifle in this scenario.
What we're seeing right now, some of the Soviet infantry down to the south is slowly getting freaked out, and you're right though, that Sherman is the only source of firepower here, and I wonder if solowingpixy is slowly running out of that.
I probably have a feeling he is taking more of the higher veterancy Shermans now, which definitely hurts your availability. And once again, you don't really get... You get a decent amount of tanks in second French, enough to really get you through your A phase and B phase strong, but, you know, once you're out of that phase, you're really just running pretty dry on the armor.
That's true, but French patriotism and Elan is certainly causing its share of troubles. Though, with the slowing down of reinforcements, actually, I'm wondering if we're actually also seeing a drying up of volunteers as well.
There's such, like, you know, ready to fight volunteers that they're willing to go all the way to the Eastern Front to fight the Russians.
Well, like I'm saying, I feel like we're back in 1812 at the moment, and the French, again, plastered the front lines, but now they're kind of being arrested, not maybe by General Winter, but also just by this kind of stubborn defense, and in many ways, just the thorough application of high explosives.
Yeah, like I said at the start of the match, 184th is a really good defensive division. They can just hold their ground like it's bloody battle cask. But you know, it's been a slow and steady grind, and even though I don't feel like solowingpixy still has the lead technically, I don't feel like he's going to be able to make any like counter-offensive at this point. The southern post has been pretty much, you know, stopped by the spamming of good old 76mm infantry support guns, which is pounding at the volunteers.
Yes, sir. I mean, and that one Sherman is causing a bit of a hassle, but I think the 122 starts. Yep, the 122 is starting to see him. And while the shooter is knocked out for the moment, I don't think it's going to be easy for the Sherman to pierce that metal hide.
Yeah, especially at range.
Yeah, it does seem to be a little bit doubtful that the Sherman's armor, though, can repel firepower of that magnitude.
No. If he can hit.
Yeah, not for nothing. I'd be supremely surprised how good some of these shots can be from a mile and a half away.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a quick look to the north. More bombs falling, more planes strafing, and more Strelkies and Automachikis being dropped into that center town, which is looking much more like a town of Lincoln Logs after I was done playing with them as a kid. Not pretty. Not pretty at all.
Indeed. Yeah, it just seems like Karma's man to take him back at Northern Town. It just good old Strokey DP's really securing the victory.
It's
Now
kind
he's
of
got a bit more of an air force.
Oh,
There we
good.
go. There's a tap out.
I was gonna say it's gonna be kind of embarrassing if the GMC Bofors turns around and gets strafed or bombed by a plane. It always seems like such an ironic death to me at that point.
I know, it's really a way to go. He had one job and he couldn't even fulfill it.
Exactly. But 4K to 3K, and we're actually kind of seeing a lot of examples of maybe not stellar standout players, but doing their job and then some.
Everyone is equally good in the Soviet side, for the most part. Some are a little bit more equal than others, but...
Well, you know how it is. I mean, all people are equal, some are more equal. I got you.
Yeah, looking at losses, Lucas, bloody hell, he's a real, armored killer, knocking out, not heavy tanks, mind you, but just the sheer amount, and even killing the hero unit is pretty good.
True. Very, very true. Looking elsewise, though, most of them not doing too hot here. A couple of trades here and there, but I think that first 10 minutes, I think you're right. I think the way to be playing second Blindee at this point is you have to hit hard and just knock them out as quickly as humanly possible.
Yeah, it's like Cossacks. You really do have to take them with the Vanguard or Maverick income and just go all out in those 20 minutes. And as you see, even with the income to keep up with someone else, you just don't have the availability as the French. You just need to go hard early.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. But all right, folks, it looks like that's about it for this particular match today. As always, we're going to be back a little bit later this week, though. But Rang, any final thoughts?
None.
Well, folks, in that case, then, we will see you all soon. Until next time, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Mangru. Take it easy.